Just because they can doesn't mean they should.
But like, we are taking on the patriarchy.
Super fucking exciting. I love Hunter fucking videos.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if feminists tried to make a movie? Do you think it would
No, I haven't really wondered.
Inspiring, empowering, witty, and groundbreaking? Or would it be a cliche action?
You know what it would be? It'll be a movie that men who hate women complain about, for sure. 100.
Movie with a mediocre plotline, relying on its woke points to be watchable. How do you honestly think a feminist movie would go down? Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to find out. And spoiler alert, it goes down like week-old Brussels sprouts with a side of curdled octopus milk. Let's watch what happens when feminists make a movie.
I don't know how he has a wife.
What's up, everybody?
Like, how did he fuck her and make a daughter if he hates women so much?
Today, we will all be laughing at the massive blunder that is this feminist action movie, Charlie's Angels. It's a new action comedy about a trio of female super spies. The Guardian calls this a weaponized feminist frenzy. This movie recently hit theaters and has gone on to fail so badly, the financial loss can only be explained by claiming there's a wage gap.
You don't claim that there's a wage gap. There is a wage gap. I'm gonna prove that with an article showing that female surgeons have a far lower incidence and death rate compared to male surgeons. They still get paid less. They still hold the lower paid positions. And then a whole bunch of men, like, commented on that once. I posted it on Twitter, and they're like, oh, you're so stupid. Don't you see that men are the better surgeons, and that's why they have more difficult surgeon jobs? And I was like, okay, but where's the logic? If statistics show that female surgeons have lower rates of death and incidence and negative outcome from their surgeries than men, why should men hold those positions? Why should men be entitled to hold the positions that garner more money, that are more difficult, that require more difficult surgeries, when men can't actually adhere to the requirements and they fail and they have higher death rates of their patients? Why is that acceptable? Because male privilege. Shut the fuck up, Hunter.
Because my new merch is on sale. Go to grabmymerch.com.
Shut the fuck up.
And check out, and on November 15th, 2019, the latest Charlie's Angels movie disgraced us all. Now make no mistake, this third movie is not a third movie at all. It's a reboot produced by the clusterfuck known as Sony Studios. Sony, the studio responsible for the well-loved classics such as Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh, there we go. He's picking on the other fucking
don't get me wrong, a lot of
movie
use
with
the
women in
sound
it.
to try and sell tickets, but no one does it quite as poorly as Sony. Sony takes that bit of nostalgia you have in your heart, that last little glimmer of hope, reminiscent of when times were good and people
How is
were
this
happy,
applicable
and they dangle it in front of you,
to...
leading you into the theater to see the reboot like a sheep to the slaughter.
You just said that the show was about naked women and it was not a good show, and now you're talking about nostalgia. Sorry, I remember now. It was so he could get that fucking dig in. He loves his ad hominem. He loves it.
Despite the fact that the original TV show was all about women, well, it's 2019 and a movie has a woman in it. Therefore, it's a feminist female empowerment film, and if you don't like it, well, you're sexist. I'm not even saying this to try and be hyperbolic or mock the
I know.
Law enforcement can't keep up. I don't like that, boy. You guys are like lady spies. James former MI6.
The movie tries way too hard to be some kind of woke feminist statement, but it ends up just being really forced. The main characters are talked down to and told to smile more, obviously trying to play into the Me Too era. Even the left-wing slate.
It's not playing into it, it's just like representing what's actually happening.
Plays more like a checklist of topics from the feminist discourse of the past few years than a coherent movie, let alone a crowd-pleasing one. The squeaky clean cheerleading and "am I right, ladies?" elbowing meant to lull me into a state of sisterly contentment just made me miss the original show. She's completely right.
She's completely right. That woman is suffering from severe internalized misogyny, and everything she wrote is highly indicative of her hating herself and anything to do with a sisterhood and promoting her fellow women.
Seems like this film is relying on its blatant feminist undertones to supplement for lack of quality. There's nothing wrong with making a movie about strong female characters. Some of my favorite movies and TV shows have strong female characters in them, but the production also has to be good. Make a good movie that has women in it, rather than putting women in a movie to try and make it good.
Demonstration of his male privilege. This don't put women in a movie to make it a good movie. Make a good movie and put women in it. Like, no, I'm sorry. Like, that defeats the whole purpose. Like, this is built around the fact that women are centered. Like, we are focusing on centering women, and he hates that. Oh my God, it's killing him.
One of the main actresses, Kristen Stewart, mocked men and then proceeded to claim that this movie is taking on the patriarchy.
I love the part about how he's all, she mocks men and then says it's about fighting the patriarchy. And then she goes on to say this about how, like,
any misogynist that it might piss off won't even really be aware of it because it still is quite a lot of fun.
He makes it clear that this is applicable to him in his statement, whereby he claims that the references to the Me Too movement, especially the fact that the women are talked down to in the movie and that they're told to smile more. His awareness that that's reality and that this is not forced and that this is happening. The fact that it's lacking so severely. That's what he's pissed off about, really. It's over his head. He's pissed off because it's over his head.
And so I think at the end of it, it's sort of like not knowing that your girlfriend has made fun of you. I think they'll all be like, what? Yeah, totally. That was a lot of fun. But really, we won the game.
You know, not all guys are these brawny, dumb jocks with an IQ at room temperature. I mean...
Yeah, we know you're not brawny. We know you're not a jock, honey bun.
Muscular.
Yeah, but it's not, like, offensive in any way. And literally, at the same time, it's like, some of our most heroic characters in the movie are men. But, like, we are taking on the patriarchy in a way that any really good guy, anyone that you would want your brother to be or your dad to be, would own.
Yes. This groundbreaking, iconic, feminist reboot is taking the patriarchy head on. I get that since this is a feminist movie, you have to throw in this grandiose interpretation of your subpar movie, but no one is buying that this mediocre action film is making any kind of significant social impact. It would have been much more...
Here's the fucking problem, you idiot stick. It is making a social impact. Young girls, young women are seeing themselves represented in film as strong women. I know you can't fucking relate and you don't understand shit, but
impactful if the movie was not only made by women, but also enjoyable. But let's be real for a second. This movie isn't taking on the patriarchy. The only thing it is taking on is Chapter 13. Yeah, guys, apparently all the female empowerment in the world couldn't get this film to earn a damn nickel. The movie was, unsurprisingly, a massive flop. Shattering a...
Yeah, because men don't want to spend their men dollars on a woman movie. that doesn't happen. Men don't spend money on women anything. They don't invest in us. They just take from us.
If I were to do any inspiring with this movie, I hope I inspire a lot of young women to get involved, older women to get involved, women of all ages to get involved and tell their stories. And I also hope I inspire more executives to hire more women and trust us.
Well, this is a bit ironic. Look, don't worry. I'm sure after this massive fail, plenty of executives will trust you to pour their coffee properly. This feminist frenzy was quickly turning into a feminist flop. Okay, you get the picture. The movie was bombing because it sucked. It was boring, and no one wanted a feminist reboot of a classic TV show. But Elizabeth Banks wasn't about to admit defeat. She was not willing to...
Sorry. When he says nobody wanted a feminist reboot of a classic TV show, he means that men didn't want women to be represented with brains and standing up for themselves, as opposed to the original show, which just portrayed them as sex symbols.
Admit that maybe, just maybe, her movie wasn't all that good. No, instead she was bracing herself for a box office flop in typical feminist fashion. Blaming men. Prior to the movie's disastrous opening weekend, Banks gave an interview to the Herald Sun that is
So
now
fucking boring.
somewhat controversial. The filmmaker called out a potential box office bomb as being sexist. Look, people have to buy tickets to this movie too. This movie has to make money, she said. If this movie doesn't make money, it reinforces a stereotype in Hollywood that men don't go see women do action movies.
That's hilarious. I just said that and I haven't even watched this yet.
Wasn't good. It's because vagina. Here's a little thinker for you. Maybe, just maybe, if men don't go see a movie, it's not because men are sexist pigs, but rather, men would rather watch a good movie, regardless of whether or not there's a female or a male in it.
So fucking ignorant. How can you know a movie is going to suck if you don't go fucking see it first? Where's the logic? How did all these men know this was gonna be a shitty fucking movie? You're all psychic? Shut up, you fucking idiot.
Instead of shilling for some cheap feminist propaganda. You can't guilt people into seeing your film. I mean, what is this? If you have a vajay, this movie will make you shout yay. But if you have a peen, you're mean. Not to mention, other movies with female leads have gone on to be extremely successful. Earlier this year, Brie Larson starring Captain Marvel grossed $426 million in the US and over $1.1 billion at the worldwide box office, and Wonder Woman ended its summer 2017 run with $821 million worldwide. But
right. And do you know the male critique those feminist, female-centered movies took when they came out? They were laughed at, insulted, and pretty much, endured the same kind of critique that you're putting forth for this movie.
Comic book films are still tied to a large male genre. They'll go and see a comic book movie with Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel because that's a male genre, Banks told The Sun. So even though those are movies about women, they put them in the context of feeding the larger comic book world. Wait, hold on,
they're not about women. Oh my god, those movies were not about women. They just happen to have female characters.
Are successful because men are sexist. But your movie isn't successful because men are sexist? What are you babbling about, lady?
She's not babbling. She's just saying stuff that's too difficult for you to understand.
Worked so hard on completely failed. But this weak finger pointing at the privileged mayo-cracker men is absolutely ridiculous and the most desperate and sexist attempt at a scapegoat I've ever seen. By the way, I'm happy for those characters to have box office success, but we need more women's voices supported with money because that's the power. The power is in the money. Well, ultimately, the movie was a huge disaster, and the feminist agenda is one of the main culprits behind this film's downfall. Although the film was cringy,
no,
I'm glad it was made.
The feminist agenda is not responsible for the movie's downfall. Not even a little bit. You can't even make that correlation. That assumption. You're just fucking making shit up. That's just a fucking lie. 100%. You're just a fucking liar.
Provided us all with this epic saga of blame, pride, and failure. I wish this film could have been good, but I fear the director
You do not.
and the cast
You fucking liar.
far too focused on shoving a big, black, juicy agenda down our throats instead of producing a good quality film.
Okay. What? Did he just fucking... Was that a racial epithet? Did that just happen? Hold on.
I wish this film could have been good, but I fear the director and the cast were far too focused on shoving a big, black, juicy agenda down our throats instead
Yeah,
of producing
it was.
a good quality